day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's the Red Leaf Retrocast, anime episode 61. Yes, it is part 2 of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. We're doing episodes 27 through 54, the second arc, the second part, however you want to phrase it. I'm your host, JD. Very excited for this cast. I'm joined by my amazing hosts, Tori and Hickey. Tori, how you doing? We'll go with you first.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Nothing much to say other than that.
Excited for this cast today?
Yes, I am actually. It's been a while since we did Legend of Galactic Heroes last, so I look
almost
forward to doing...
a year to the date.
Damn.
Yes.
Damn.
So maybe this will be an annual thing, the Legend of Galactic Heroes podcast, and after year 4, we will have completed the series.
And then it's time for the OVA. Sorry, not the OVA.
And then it's time for the second OVA part, yeah. Hickey, you're here all the way from the continent of political discourse.
Yeah, things are fun. A lot of things.
You got, what was it, Argentina and Chile both building a wall. You got Brazil, I guess, doing their own thing. Venezuela's in the shitter. Like, what's going on down there? It's crazy.
It's a little bit hard to explain. I would have to go back in time for like 500 years. I don't really want to do that. It's fun. Yeah.
Are you excited for this cast today?
Oh, I'm highly excited. I've been waiting a year for this cast. It's always good to talk about, I guess, fictional political things. In this case, Legend of Galactic Heroes.
That's well put. Well, also on the agenda today, we got, I'll be talking about Isekai Wrestler, just a little episode there. My thoughts on that show, since that is my self-punishment brought on by Tori and Hickey. Thank you, guys.
I mean, you said you wanted it, so...
I did say I wanted the pain. No pain, no gain in the anime world. Tori, you got your plan to watch cleaning quest, continuing on that little journey.
Mm-hmm.
Hickey picked an interesting manga to check out today, and naturally we'll round out with our Legend of the Galactic Heroes. So, first thing foremost, I want to address a number of emails we've been getting lately. It is about our YouTube channel, Red Leaf Retrocast. People are wondering why episodes are missing from there. And I found out the issue. So, at first I thought it was a problem with whether it was the algorithm or problem with YouTube in general, just not letting uploads come in. Or because we like using licensed soundtracks in the beginning and ends of episodes just to kind of have a little fun there. It is actually a problem with our host site Podbean and how it connects to YouTube, where every once in a while it will just disconnect the connection between Podbean and YouTube, and it just won't upload an episode. And then I have to go through a approval process with connecting the two sites, and with my internet being so bad with upload speed, it's not worth it to just re-upload the episode to YouTube. So that is the explanation for that. I'll just do my best to try to keep up with the reapproval, but I won't know that the connection is gone until an episode just doesn't upload. So if you are looking for an episode and it's not on YouTube, don't worry, it is everywhere else. So
literally
everywhere else, not SoundCloud. There we go. I have to always preface that.
Somehow, some way, someday, maybe.
Well, SoundCloud has its own little paid service going on, and Podbean is cheaper, so that's why we're on Podbean.
Yep.
Maybe next year we'll switch to Anchor, which is free.
Oh, yeah.
And we won't have to rely on the occasional $1 donations here and there to attribute to the annual fee Podbean requires. So yes, I have read the emails. There's your answer. Answers that. All right, so Isekai Wrestler. Rise Up. Episode 4 is what I watched. I have not watched episode 5 yet, because episode 4 kind of broke me a little bit, guys. I'm going to be honest. It was atrocious. I did not find it funny. It was filler. It was hot trash at its finest. I hated it. Tori, why? Why did I hate this so much? I know you're asking.
Yes, definitely. I really care. Please tell me.
I know you care. Hickey, I know you care too. Don't worry, I did not forget about you.
Oh, I can feel your pain. Don't worry about it. Just do your thing.
Yeah. So episode 4 consisted of them just not working and spending a bunch of money on all the animals they've accumulated in their little cottage. They still don't have the permit to start a pet shop in the world, so even though they have all this ambition in the world to get this thing started, apparently it's not important enough to actually make money to get the down payment for the loan at the bank. So, priorities. Haha, funny. And it just keeps going back and forth between the main, what is she, a half-wolf chick?
Shigure.
I don't remember.
Sure.
Half-wolf chick. Yeah, sure, who cares? Half-wolf chick, she's just kind of getting mad because no one's drinking and they're eating all the food and it's costing a lot of money. They eventually get a job to go after a griffin. And so they go off. The griffin is really powerful, go figure, and they learn that a griffin offspring, they'll give birth to 2, and then they'll have the little offspring fight to the death, and they'll fight, and the winning one will be raised by the parents, while the losing one will just be left to die. So there you go. They come across, griffin fight, and of course the guy goes, well, that one lost, it's just going to die anyways. I will take it. They run away from the griffin. There's at least some haha moments of the chick that is, I guess, the servant of the dragon girl. She kind of dies, I guess, in a way, by the griffin. So they bury her in the ground, which led to at least a funny comment where it goes, yeah, we just got to bury her in like fresh soil and then she'll come back to life
impure
faster.
soil.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Impure soil.
Impure soil, yeah, that's right. And the dog pees on it.
Kind
Yeah,
of so bad at its finest.
Yeah, like that was some Konosuba humor. I quite like that, where it was just like stupid hijinks there. But the episode overall was very trash and filler. Did not like it. He raises the griffin, it gets really big, and there you go. That's the end of that. Hooray!
Yay!
So yeah, Rise Up episode 4 was not good.
10 out of 10.
Yes, definitely not. And it's not like the Death Stranding reviews coming out where people are saying it's a boring game, but it's so artful. 10 out of 10. Are you guys familiar with Death Stranding?
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, so basically it's a game I've been highly looking forward to, and it's like a super walking simulator with art. It's like its whole appeal. And my favorite review I read was the one that gave it like a 34 out of 100. And it just said, it's a horrid, boring piece of garbage that just goes to show you that if you let a guy go off and do his art without being supervised, he'll make a game like this. And he gives it a 34 out of 100. It was a fun read, I will admit.
At its finest. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the game has an ending 2-hour cutscene. So it's a fucking movie to end the game.
Damn. And I disagree with that review, because Igarashi went on to do his own thing, and he did a good game. Just that Kojima is a little bit weird.
Yeah, he's out there. There's no doubt about that. You kind of have to... I mean, it's Kojima. You know what you're expecting with the kind of game he wants to bring to the world. And
a walking simulator.
He's always cutscene heavy. But more will be spoken about that in the Modern Gaming episode. Tori, you have a plan to watch Cleaning Quest, unless you guys got other random thoughts you want to get out there.
I don't think so.
I don't.
Okay, Go for it.
Wait, no
I'm
drop?
No drop.
Oh, shit.
We're going crazy today.
All right, then. So, now, then, we're back to my plan to cleaning watch quest, yes. My plan to watch list cleaning quest, and now we're up to G. And today I'm going to be talking about a show that absolutely no one has ever heard of, so anybody talk about before, ever, and it's called Ghost Stories.
The best show ever made.
Oh, boy.
The best show ever
watched the dub?
I did, in fact, watch the dub.
Very appropriate, coming right after Spooky Month.
I know, right? No, definitely not the sort of show that I would watch subbed, because, quite frankly, it's boring. But I did watch the dub, despite not really liking dubs, and the dub is very fun. But first off, let's just look at some stuff here. Ghost Stories is a 19-episode TV series, and a special episode, making 20. Produced by Studio Pierrot, and it was directed by Noriyuki Abe, who has directed stuff like, I don't know, Arslan Senki, Bleach, good stuff.
The 90s
really.
one or the newer one?
Arslan Senki, the newer one.
Okay.
Yes, the newer one.
Have you ever seen the 90s Arslan Senki?
I haven't seen any of Arslan Senki. He also directed Great Teacher Onizuka. So,
that's a good one.
That is a good one. He's done a lot of stuff. I just saw... No, never mind. He has not directed Dragon. But yeah. So the synopsis from Mal says, years ago, all of the ghosts in a haunted schoolhouse were banished by a certain student. Now they're back and want revenge. Satsuki and Keiichiro Miyanoshita are two siblings recovering from the tragic loss of their mother. After moving to their mother's hometown, they learn that the local school they have transferred to is an old building, once said to be haunted. Despite initially brushing it off as a silly rumor, the two soon discover that ghosts are indeed real, and that they're after them. Gakko no Kaidan is the creepy tale of the lives of these siblings and their newfound friends as they try to survive the school's ghosts, with a little help from their pet cat along the way.
Satan. Satan the cat, yeah.
Yeah? Satan the cat.
Wait, actually
it's
named
just
Satan.
literally Satan.
Oh. All right.
The cat is possessed by Satan.
Oh man, I just
Oh,
love it.
it's so good.
I think I would...
Like, no matter where you are, the dub of Ghost Stories will be amazing. Remember?
Yes. Listen, there's just something special about watching a show about a little girl walking up face to face against a monster, a giant demon, and going, "Suck my metaphorical cock."
Yeah, yeah.
There's just...
Dude, the beginning, it's iconic. Inside of the truck on the first, like in the seat, and she going, "Oh, I'm moving to where my grandmother, like the little notebook she carries." From the same school my grandmother came, and now I have the only.
Oh mother.
Like the mother came, and this is the only thing she gave me: a book full of satanic shit. I'm like, hold on. me at like 11 years old. Like, hold on, that doesn't add up. Wait. So it's so good. Like, no matter the fake children voices as well and the dub, I just dude, it's just great.
I mean, that's part.
Yes,
that's part of the joke.
No, it's not part of the joke. It's
you
part
don't sound
of the charm.
like.
Come on.
No. Yeah, no, but it is part of the joke because they do play that because I mean they have lines like that. You don't even sound like a kid. It's like basically it is essentially like everybody likes to call it an official abridged. It's not, but I mean it is part of it. Like there's no matter what the story's about, that's irrelevant in the dub. I don't really give a shit about the story. It's just let's crack a whole bunch of inappropriate early 2000s jokes. So all kinds of stuff, including racism and fucking.
Man. some.
Nothing says top level humor without racism. Am I right, guys?
You need racism. No, but like I mean, it is. I do suspect that there are people who are, if they do watch it, they will be offended by this because, I mean, it doesn't pull any punches, but it's all done in kind of not good fun, but it is humor. It's funny if you like that sort of stuff. If you don't, you're probably just going to rip your hair out. But there's just something funny to me, inherently funny about seeing a little kid constantly going around calling her mother a complete dyke, her deceased mother, because apparently she was like a fucking religious drug addict, lesbian fucking pedophile, I guess.
Well, I mean,
I listened to dub shit.
Yeah.
So, do you guys know the story behind why the dub came to be?
In my
because
country,
Ghost Stories did horribly. Ghost Stories was received very poorly, and when the show was picked up, they essentially got free reign to do whatever they wanted with it to make it sell.
Well, the voice actors got free reign. They didn't have to go by a script or anything.
Yeah, no, but that was included. That was already established when they got the license to from the Japanese licensors. When they got the license, they essentially just said, "This didn't do well. Just do whatever the fuck."
Do whatever you want.
No, the Brazilian dub is a little bit better. You can understand the story. It's still a little weird from time to time because the voice actors weren't that engaged. So instead of using post effect, sometimes they would just make effects with their own they would modulate their own voices. So yeah, it's very interesting. I remember watching it as a kid. It went on open television and shit. Just awesome things.
The good old Norio Wakamoto self made sound effects. If you've ever seen that guy act in the Japanese version, he does the same pretty much. He's done a lot of weird voice actors. He usually does bad guys, but he also has voiced a motorcycle. So literally the entire show is just him making bike sounds. It's great. But yeah, no, this was supposed to be horror, like a horror mystery, but in the dub it's just a complete comedy. Nothing is serious. Stuff happens, but I mean, I still don't even properly understand. I understand, it's a haunted school building because of some shit. Always somebody's like, yeah, fuck it, who cares? Did this person claim to have sealed ghosts here? Fuck it, let's destroy it, because we don't want to have it here anymore. It ruins the landscape. Let's just release the ghosts again. Ghosts aren't real anyways, and then, guess what? They are, because this is fiction. They're always real. But, stuff like that, and then the kids have to go and reseal it, and then it's just kind of that stupid thing was they have the essential guide to how to seal ghosts with them, in the book that Sasuke's mother wrote, and it's just like with anything, that's obviously the last thing they ever care to look at, even though that's always a joke in the dub. It's just should you just, I don't know, look in the book? Oh yeah, I do have that. I guess retardation runs in the family. It's just fucking, it's all over the place, and that's what makes it fun. So, not at all a good show, but the dub makes this show, easily. So, yeah. If you're gonna watch it dubbed. If you don't like watching dubs, still watch it dubbed or just ignore it. It's not a good show. It's just a good dub.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen about 2 or 3 episodes of it. It always seems to come up every year. It's hey guys, what are we gonna watch? Let's watch the Ghost Stories dub. And you always end up watching the first 2 episodes. You go, okay, I've had enough.
Nah, man, I watched all 20 in 2 sittings or 3 sittings or something like that. It's just it's not often I laugh even during comedies, but this is just fucked up humor, and it's so up my alley.
It's absurd. Yeah.
Nah, it's straight up fucked up.
Okay. Now I'll play a drop. Here we go. Hickey, Manga Manhwa Checkout, take it away.
All right. This is a segment where each episode, me and JD will highlight a manga, manhwa, or webtoon for a few chapters. This is our 21st checkout, and it's a very serious manga, of course, to pair up with Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And we'll be talking about Interspecies reviewers. Hold on, let me just recover from that. By the artist Masha and written by Amahara. This manga was serialized first in DRA Sharp. Great magazine.
Yeah. Draw, sharp, £, draw, sharp, hashtag, whatever you want to call that symbol. It's sharp, though.
Was released in July 9,
joke, yeah.
2016, and currently it has 2 volumes. And there's a anime coming out next season. I don't know who highlighted this anime, but man, I will watch it. So yeah, the summary from Anime Planet, JD put in here, says, beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. That is, well, from from elves to succubi to cyclops and more. The Yoru no Gloss reviewers are here to rate the red light delights of all manner of monster girls. The only thing is, they can never agree on which species is the hottest. That is...
I know that problem.
That is, if you own the physical copy of Monster Girl Encyclopedia, like I do, you know this. No, I was just kidding.
As we all do. It's just on the bookshelf over here. Yeah, let me just grab that. Yeah.
Together with my Catcher in the Rye and 1984, it's just there. Yeah, just
right up there
with the classical literature kind of place in my shelf. It's a good summary, but basically we follow 2 adventures and an angel because that happens. Stunk the human, Zell the elf, and Krimavel the angel. And what happens is, Zell and Stunk, they are friends. They go on adventures together, and they're very decent adventures. We learn that they are actually very powerful, but they come to a quarrel over which is better: a 500-year-old elf, which looks 20, or a 50-year-old human prostitute. So they decided to, go on with each one of them and do a review. For that, they chose 2 friends to do it as well, to be, as more impartial and have more opinions over it. And they made a chart with these opinions and posted in the tavern, where people could read. What happened was, that was extremely popular, and they started having, winning money over it. So they decided to, why would I go out, risk my life on an adventure if I can just go to the red light district, choose a monster girl, make a review, and win money out of it? Makes a lot of sense, and they decided to do that. After that, they encountered the angel, Cramavel, and just defiled it by making him go on the sex adventures with them. Yeah, man, this is a fun one.
It was definitely very interesting. It's definitely really funny, but holy crap, is it wordy? And the text is really small.
The 2 authors, the writer and the artist, which I think he does a few hentai from time to time. Shockingly, I know.
Of course he does.
They are very passionate about it. Like, highly passionate about it. Because when you start reading it, yes, it's very wordy, But usually it's impressions of the characters of whatever is going on. Uh, and then you get to the reviews, and the reviews were like almost 10-line longs of reviewing the sex and prostitutes. So it's like they had to choose a monster girl. They have to do research. They have to think about the opinions of four characters with different personalities and preferences in girls
and their species of origin,
and being different species as well. And they did a bunch of reviews out of it. It's a lot of passion.
There's a lot of thought that went into how to incorporate species on species action. They even go as far as to give a reason why all these brothels can actually function in society. It's just right away. Go, well, I mean, you go back like 10 generations and, all the succubi in the world started integrating with all the other species, and now everyone's got some succubi in them, and based on law, if you're a succubi, you can legally have sex for desire, so prostitution's now legal, and since every species now has a succubi in them, they're all legal now, so there you go.
It makes sense.
I guess that makes sense.
It's so good. It's highly interesting. It's very fun, especially if you like monster girls, which is my case. By the end of volume 2, it starts a little arc on the pure succubus. Like JD said, most of the species have succubus traits in it because of interspecies relationships. But you still have the true succubus, and they go to that place, and there's it's actually a trap city where not trap in the Weeb meaning of trap, where they assign a succubus to you, and you live together with her for a week, but you get they try to make you never leave the city and spend your money there and keep sucking your life. So yeah, it's a very fun manga. I recommend it to everyone who's above 18 and really like.
Oh, it's well, you know what?
All right,
16
because
I will
not
say
porn
16
yet.
Okay, so I pulled up probably one of my favorite panels that I came across. My favorite chapter was the fairy one. I'll get into that in a second, but my favorite panel was definitely the demons want you to vote and they're also tired of being in the top 5 most unmarriageable species list. So then right here they have listed the top 5 and why they are unmarriageable. So number 5 is reptilians. They smell like fish, incompatible bodies. They don't move all day. Number 4 is snow women. They're cold, bad personalities. Seriously, bad personality. 3 is fire spirits. Hot, can't hold them. Burn your house down. 2 is demons. They're selfish. They seem abusive. And they have scary auras. So they're not actually bad. It's just preconception. Number 1 is the undead. Just can't. They stink. Not feeling the bones either.
Now that I think about it, there's a chapter where they are invited to a vampire mansion, and they actually go to a undead brothel. It's great. The human review is great because he chooses the attendant, which is a zombie girl. He's like, oh, you know what? It's a little bit cold. If the day was a little bit warm, I think it would be nice, especially in summer. Because she has a great personality and she can like change body parts. And like, okay, cool. I was like, but the day was a little bit cold and it was cold inside. My little guy didn't want to cooperate. I was like, oh my god, dude, the amount of thought that goes into this.
There's a lot of detail there. But the fairy chapter was my favorite, where they're just like, oh man, what about fairies? They're they're kind of an exotic group. They have this picture in their mind. They get there, and the fairy that's like running the desk looks like it's strung out on drugs. It's like smoking a pipe. I could just picture the fairy with like a raspy voice, like, "All right, boys, what do you got?"
Time for measurement.
Yeah. So they not only do they have to be measured, so they have to measure everyone's cocks to make sure that they're not gonna like. Well, okay, the fairies are small and they're petite, so they can't handle a big cock, right? So they got to measure you. And along with, you have to pay a like entry fee or no registration fee, and it's they all first complain that the registration fee is pretty steep, so you can't even get in there without doing that. So they all get measured. The human, he's like, you can only have these 2 people, and they're like fat and old and kind of big, so he's like, what's the fucking point? That's stupid. Nice dick.
Just like the angels. There's no one who can
said, yeah. Whoa, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Sorry, it's just too
so
great.
the elf gets like, he only can go like half of them, and then it goes to the halfling, which I actually found kind of the most interesting. It's what was it, half fairy, half human, or something like that. So he's a bit on the smaller side just in general, and because of his motions, because of his half blood, he's I don't know, all his reviews were very like average. Like nothing really sticks out to him. There's always a problem. And then it gets to the angel, who's a hermaphrodite, and the fairy just goes, "Sorry, bud. No one can handle you." And they all just go, "What?" So then they cut to the bar. And they're like, why was he so disappointed? And then it just shows the human guy,
Stunk.
What's his name? Stunk. He just puts out his finger, like he puts out his fingers in measurements of like 2 feet long. He's like, "Dude,
yeah," and everyone looks at the bulge as he floats.
The massive bulge as he's bending over serving drinks, and they're just like, "Jesus!"
It's so fun. Like honestly, even after the voting, where they get a discount coupon for the demo hole, and they decided to go to a cowgirl instead. Dude, there's so many.
Yeah, the big titties walk by, and they're just like, "You know what? We're going to the titties." So Tori, I think you'd like this manga.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, you should have read this with us. You missed out.
Nah, it's okay.
It is very good, especially if you like Monster Girls and appreciate the art of someone who really, really puts a lot of thought of things you wouldn't yourself.
I don't know, man. When I listen to this, all I can think of is these are the sort of guys who go on porn sites and go into the review section at the bottom.
Yeah, kind of.
I think no. I think it's more like a food review kind of thing.
That's the same thing. I mean, fuck it, that's what they do. It's just that they review porn, these guys review prostitutes, they review food. Who cares what it is?
They won a lot of money. They actually pointed out, it's like, holy shit, that is a lot of money for just that one sheet of paper, because they put a lot of copies.
Well, they drag the angel
copies, but still, it's like, goddamn.
Yeah, they drag the angel with them, and the angel goes, "I don't know, maybe it was just the one time." Then she gets paid, and he's just like flabbergasted by how much money he has, and then he goes, "Shit, I could do that all the time."
Yeah, he actually becomes a regular, and it's really funny because like he's an angel, and he's like, "Oh no, I've been defiled by prostitutes," but like 10 chapters after that, Stunk and Zell are just walking through the red light and see him coming out of a brothel, and they're like, "Oh, I see now. You're one of us."
You're one of us, yeah. Oh boy, I think my favorite review was definitely when they went to the octopus chick area. It was like the sea brothel. It's like they go into ever since Trident took over for Poseidon from Poseidon, it was all the sea dwelling creatures are now free to roam, and we could all have sex with them. Isn't that great? Oh, I love Trident. He's such a good ruler. And then they do the review over the octopus chick, and my God, they all kind of had the same thing. It's like, man, if you're into suction play, the fetish level is sky high. But if you're married, you got to be careful because those suction wounds will be on you for at least 3 days. So your own risk. Like, my God, the writing thought and detail went into this this has no business being at the level it
I don't know,
is.
You see, it's silly.
And they all rate everything on a scale of 0 to 10.
Yeah, it's very silly and everything else, but like when you stop like laughing or being outrageous by, oh no, they're reviewing prostitutes out there, it's actually, there's a lot of information. It's packed with a lot of information. Oh man, it's a weird thing. It's really, really weird. Oh, I love this. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. It was surprisingly enjoyable. I went into this being like, Hickey, what have you done? Why do I have to read this? And turns out, wasn't that bad. It was
See,
actually
you
quite
need to
fun.
trust me more. You guys don't trust me.
Look, just because Saikano is one of our most downloaded episodes doesn't mean I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Trust me when I actually review things or just recommend things for, not for a joke, but for real, like Bebop High School and Interspecies reviewers.
You are on a winning streak lately. I will admit that.
In my eyes, I've never.
You might be batting 500 now.
Fine.
So
In my eyes, I've always been in a winning streak, but that's okay. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's just your mind.
all right, shall we get to the serious show, the big topic at hand?
But this wasn't a serious show.
This was not the serious topic at hand.
Damn.
Okay, let me play the drop. We can move on.
Now, it's time we start dealing with the business at hand.
Boys and girls, it is now time to review Legend of the Galactic Heroes Part 2, episodes 27 through 54. We'll be at the halfway point in the show. Hooray! It's a year-long quest in the making. Studio Artland and a couple others helped. Artland also known for Mushishi, and I believe the studio is now debunked as well. Bankrupt. Director is Nobuo Ishiguro, whom you might remember from, obviously, Part 1 of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, but also Macross, which we reviewed pretty recently, a few episodes ago. I found it interesting that all of Part 2 was released in a 6-month span from June to December in 1991, even though it took almost a decade for the whole series to come out in its little OVA form. The show does span 110 episodes, and I think I speak for us all when I say highly recommend going back and listen to our review on Part 1 back in episode 39 of the Red Leaf Retrocast.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yeah, sure.
It's 24 episodes packed with a lot of political things.
26.
Really doesn't matter. What matters is there's a lot of political things and political movements and chess plays and army maneuvers and everything else. It's highly complex, so I think we gave a good synopsis of everything that happens in episode 1 to 26, with motivations and everything. And it's interesting. It's important to understand what is going on, since this show is a little bit special. They really put a lot of thought in the background and the basis of the show. So, it's interesting to understand what is going on going forward.
Okay, so summary from, I went to Gineipedia. I don't know how to pronounce that at all. But anyway, Gineipaedia. The 28 episode second part, or season 2, if you will, covers volumes 3 to 5 of the original novels. Reinhard von Lohengram achieves almost all of his goals. The Golden Bound dynasty is finally overthrown, and the Free Planet Alliance is defeated and occupied. One of the main themes is the comparison between a corrupt democracy and an efficient dictatorship, and the moral issues of such a situation, with Yang Wenli standing for democracy because a corrupt democracy can be amended, while a dictatorship can only be overthrown by force, and a wise dictator is an exception to the rule. So that's kind of our... That's where Season 2 is, Part 2, Arc 2. So just to recap Part 1 a bit, to get us all back up to speed, the Empire is slowly seeing the rise of Reinhard von Lohengrin, and his eventual appointment as Prime Minister, while serving concurrently as the Supreme Commander of the Imperial Forces, effectively becoming the de facto ruler of the Empire. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Yang Wenli destroys the Artemis necklace. That's the big weapon protecting Heinessen, the home planet of the Alliance, due to the National Salvation Army's coup on the Free Planet Alliance's homeland. The coup is stopped, and Job Trunicht, he's the president, if you will, he's hidden by members of the terrorist church, and he comes back to power afterwards. Yang Wenli went from a foot soldier of sorts to gaining high military command of the forces. Last, finally seen movement of the neutral planet Phazon, Switzerland, if you will, in space, and its sneaky leader, Adrian Rubinsky. And we wouldn't be hyped for Part 2 here without the crazy cliffhanger of Reinhardt's right-hand man's death protecting the assassination attempt on Reinhardt, that's Kierkeis, putting motion to Reinhardt taking power, and at the same time, essentially, he's put in isolation, if you will. A lonely leader, that kind of arc. We get the amazing last quote, which I wrote down here, from Siegfried Kierkeis to Reinhard von Lohengrin in his dying moments. Lord Reinhardt, please win the universe. Tell Lady Anna Rose that Sieg has kept his promise from the past. So this just devastates Reinhardt to a level beyond his comprehension, and it's not until one of his commanders, Oberhausen, I think that's his name, kind of slaps some sense into him, and that's when Reinhardt goes full on, I'm going to be a dictator to control the universe. So there you go. That's our recap. And I have a lot of information down just of the political discourse, the slow-moving parts, how everything kind of comes together, and it almost feels like Part 2 is a massive setup for the entire second half of the show. And it's very well done. It really gets you some background on some characters. It gets you knowing who should be some of the characters you're paying attention to going forward in the show, the rise of certain characters, and kind of the fall as well. Where should we take this from here? Shall I just continue with the first paragraph that I have written down here?
Sure.
Okay. So we're getting movement from Phazon to interfere in the Galactic War and remove Yang. So that's their motivation here. Rubinsky's motivation in particular. His goal is to take over as Galactic leader. It's the slow build of the new characters taking over, such as backgrounds on Wolfgang Mittermeier and Oscar von Royenthal. That's the two high commanders under Reinhardt. We get Julian Mintz having his first battle along with the Iserlohn Corridor under Dusty Attenborough's command. So that's from the Alliance side. Julian Mintz is kind of Yang's understudy. It's also his adopted son. So basically, the Adrian Rubinsky plan is to use the terrorist church to destroy the Alliance from the inside and have the Empire take over and unify the galaxy. Then his group will come in to topple the Empire's administration. How exactly he's going to topple the Empire administration isn't totally clear, but that is their goal.
Yeah, I mean, seemingly it seems like he's going to be using the Earth Church for that, from what I understand. Like, because, I mean, the interesting part about Fasan and Rubinsky is that there is, like, there's a man playing 4D chess. I mean, they pretty much all are, but, like, I mean, at this point, it's like he has so many moving parts. And as part two of this also shows us that even in his own group, in his own government, more specifically his own son, is also kind of scheming behind the scenes against him. Even though, as we also realize, that he is very much on top of that too. So yeah, Rubinsky's an interesting guy.
Rubinsky is not messing around. He's definitely the most interesting kind of third party in an anime I've seen in a long time. And yes, I have seen the show prior to the podcast, but I did watch this again, and it's still just very interesting to see how Rubinsky he uses Phazon as that third party because in space, in this universe, there's only two ways you can get there's two paths because of, I guess, galactic, or what's the word I want to use? Due to, let's call it, the space corridor, due to travel issues. You know, whether it's asteroids or black holes or what have you, you can only go these two ways. One way is blocked off by a Death Star of sorts in the Iserlohn corridor. And then the other way is Phazon, which is totally neutral, and you can't just go through their way without breaking international treaty law.
It's a trade route only.
It's a trade route only, and that's where Phazon comes in. So the moving pieces in the part is amazing because on each side plus Phazon, they have their issues they're working out. On the Alliance side, you have the top officials being jealous of Yang, and instead of focusing on the war, they want to publicly shame him. So it's very democratic to a T, right? You see it. I mean, I see it in my own government in the United States. Instead of caring about their own countries, all they want to do is shame political leaders of the opposite side. That's all they want to do all the time. So, all while the Empire is successfully putting in a warp drive on their own Death Star to fuck up Iserlohn. So, we know the true motivations of each side. The democracy is busy being distracted, and the Empire's like, dude, we gotta get our shit together.
I mean, it is a very interesting part, especially when it comes to the Democratic side, because a lot of the time, I mean, obviously, you'll hear the saying, like, keep your enemies close, but keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And a lot of times that really does apply to, and especially in this show, to the democracy side, because it really is like, while obviously you'd think that the huge intergalactic war is like problem number one, but to most of the politicians on the Democratic side, it is really the furthest problem they have, because they're not involved in that. They have to worry about all the people who are involved in that and are gaining popularity among the people, because those are dangerous to them. So they, like, at especially Young, him being literally being forward as a hero, and, you know, the Democratic leaders, they are not having that. That is hugely dangerous to their rule.
Well, there's a lot of lines spoken in terms of democratic leaders and military generals, and Yang makes it very clear that he can't stand political leaders that order people to go out and die for the sake of their freedom, and yet the government officials take all the credit and the glory. And then there's another leader on the Democratic side who says something along the lines of he agrees with Yang. He says, what does he say? He says, I wish I wrote that quote down. He said, let me think about it for a second. He says, it's not us that self-brands our glory. It should be up to the people, and we're supposed to serve. Because Yang calls them essentially parasites. So he agrees that they're. He agrees
in the
that
interrogation thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He agrees that yes, we are in fact parasites because our true only job is to distribute taxes, make sure everything's flowing well, not make ourselves celebrities essentially. And I'm thinking like, oh my god, just compare that to the American government where you have guys like Trump and Bernie Sanders and all these people trying to brand themselves as celebrities to get votes for the people rather than be just appointed officials and do their fucking job. I'm like, my God, is that just not comparable to a T?
Yeah.
And that guy was 100% fired.
And and what happens when that guy doesn't make himself a celebrity? He's immediately outed.
But I mean, like, there are so many, like, parts to this, and this is why I don't envy people who want to go into politics, because politics is messy, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. It's not clean.
Doesn't matter if it's real life
never
or fiction.
gonna be clean.
It will always be messy.
Yeah. I mean, at least with fiction, you can properly highlight a lot of the, like...
you see what's hidden. For example, the Earth cultists being behind a lot of things in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and how they can tape the scale of war. So, like, you see those kind of things. Of course, in real life, you don't see those kind of movements. But yeah...
Right, you only see the action in the end. You don't see the moving parts actually go. Like, in reality, we're not looking at the
mechanism.
We're not looking at the mechanisms of ISIS moving throughout like southeastern Turkey after Trump pulls the troops. Right, we're not seeing all those pieces be moved afterwards. We only see the end result after the troops have been pulled, kind of deal. Just to compare it to today's politics where we're at right now.
Why'd you have to bring that up? That just makes me mad.
Well, I mean, it's true, right?
No, it is. But yeah, no, this isn't about real politics. This is about fake politics. But yeah, no, like, it is really good. It is a really good, obviously, World War II and World War in general is huge for this show. Sure. It bases a lot of this on that, so it already has a strong background and a strong foundation for this. And so that's one of the things that the show does really well, right? Because it's not like it has to go and, like, create political tension and create situations from nothing. They can borrow situations that happen and kind of just parallel them and then give them, like, a new spin with new factions and new outcomes. So that's an interesting way of doing it. That is that's a decent way of, like, using history to
to a good effect
to create a plot, like alternate history, rather than what we usually get with alternate history shows, which is Japan won the war.
Hey. Man in the High Castle is a very good book. Okay.
Sure, but then there's all the other ones.
Yeah, no, like, it's, man, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It makes a very good summary of human history and human politics through history. The democracy, the battles, I'll put a lot of constitutional laws and in the middle of it, but that's okay. The democracy being based on the democratic and social tissue of laws, while the empire has a set of rules in society that don't apply to of this fabric of democracy. And by one side, you have Reinhardt just going in and just cutting off this tissue and substituting it to its own, while in the Republic, the aliens, if you stretch it enough, you will break something you shouldn't break, and that is really hard to recover. That we see with
well, a lot of this discourse with the falling of the alliance is because in season 1, in part 1, they used so many resources, people, money, supplies, to go invade the Empire during their little civil war. And if we remember correctly, Yang was like, no, that's going to fuck us hard.
I remember
right?
the connections between Nazi German deciding, of course, Nazi German couldn't win the war anyway, but like they did because they didn't have enough resources and manpower and everything else, also industrial capability. And we see the same thing here, where the aliens, although it's very good defending itself, it doesn't have the manpower, doesn't have the support, doesn't have the resources, while the Empire, you have the obligation to fight. You have the obligation to help the Empire. They're different social tissues. And it's a mistake to just go on offense when you cannot. But of course, in the aliens, you still have some groups of interest working behind the scenes to destabilize it and start a revolution. What do we see in South America today? And you know, it's it's different from the logic of the Empire, right? Because then you have a huge civil war while you are at a war. It's a really bad thing to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I love how during all this inquiries happening, and Yang is, non-surprisingly frustrated. He's pissed off. He hates the fact that the democracy way that he loves so much is just filled with all this red tape and trying to defame people. And this is probably my second favorite line in the entire part, and that's during the inquiry, Yang says, "Can't I get you to order me to retire?"
Okay.
Right? Because the people want to defame him, but they know he has so much skill and they need him because he's the whole reason why the alliance hasn't fallen yet. They just can't fire him, right?
Yeah, and
They just want to defame him. The whole purpose was stupid, and Yang's like, can't we just end this? Just make me retire.
And
seriously.
just like always, when he tries to hand in a letter of resignation, nope.
Yeah.
You're going back.
And that's the first thing he says in the first episode. I just want to retire. Man.
Yeah.
I just want to read my history books and sip tea.
My brandy tea. He's like, man, I'm not really fit for war. Sure. But it's like, I just want to retire. Like, especially when after his best friend fucking dies, disintegrated in space. I was like, man, I really don't want that happening to me. And it's, you know, I'm done. But he keeps going. He keeps going because he knows.
Yeah. He even says like he's not successful. He just knows history and he just uses that to his advantage. That's his whole deal. And he hates the fact that it's his responsibility to send troops to die for war, so he feels it's his fault. He takes a lot of responsibility and he really doesn't want it. But he's forced into all these positions.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the Empire side,
I understand it, right? Because
one
of the most difficult things to do, right, is, and obviously, like you said, he's already voiced his displeasure of this. It's that, like, taking on that role of being the one who orders others to die, right? For glory, for whatever, right? And you go die now, right? And you see that.
Glory
but
for the
not just
proletariat.
Him. Yeah, but it's not just him, right? You see this with a lot of people. You see this, especially they highlight that a lot with the older military officials, right? Whenever something happens, whenever they're about to lose, whenever they're about to get caught, their first reaction is always just to like, or always, but like there's always just like, okay, we're losing now. It's time for me to go kill myself. And at a glance, Like, it looked like, the cowardly way. I was like, oh yeah, of course, now you're about to lose, you would end your life. But it's like, who was it that said that?
It was either... I mean, there's a number of characters that have similar lines like that.
I know, but there was one specific who wanted to...
Bukak and Merkatz on
I think it was
the
Merkatz,
yes.
Side. Yeah, Merkatz, because he was the one who said that, like, he wouldn't... or it was to... he wanted to atone to the families of the people whose men he had sent to die, right? And it's like, how can I do that? Well, I really can't. The only thing I can do is lay down my life, which he was obviously talked out of doing, but still, right? Like, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
So, just to catch us up where we're at now in the story is, the Empire successfully gets their warp drive on their own Death Star. I forget the name of it. It's like, let's call it Gynax. I know it starts with a G.
Was it Geiersburg or something like that?
Geiersburg, yeah. Yeah, they immediately get put on an offensive to mess up Iserlohn, and this is one of our like 2 battles we get in the entire part, which was quite interesting considering part 1 was very battle heavy, to get us to know the strategies and how each party functions in battle, who are the generals we need to care about, kind of deal. While part 2, yes, there's 2 big battles and they're very important, but it's more about the political movements on both sides. So it's very much a lot more word heavy in this part of the story.
Yes, it is.
Is it when we learn the actual motivation between the third party as well, like become the holy orphan buyer or something like that?
That's not until I think the start of part 3 is where we finally learn that. But we do see the connection between Faison, Rubinsky's connection with the
Earth Code.
Let's
just call them that.
The Earth, the Terra, the Cult of Terra, or whatever it's called, the Terrace Church. So, just basically what happens in the battle at Iserlohn between the 2 Death Stars is, it's funny because both, despite Yang and Reinhardt both knowing what they should have done right away, and that is to run Geiersburg into Iserlohn, destroying both Death Stars, right? But the foot soldiers all can only think about one thing. The Empire wants to capture Iserlohn or destroy it and take over the corridor so they have free reign. Or, on Attenborough's side, the Alliance side, is to protect Iserlohn and protect their corridor that they've captured. Rather than destruction, they want the essentially a battle of attrition, because that's what's happening, which we saw a lot in part 1, is always a battle of attrition. So it's interesting.
The actual function of Iserlohn in the first place, to force a battle of attrition.
Right. But what ends up happening is the total destruction of Iserlohn. Does that come later? No, that comes later. That comes later. So essentially, Geiersburg does get destroyed from mishaps that happened during the battle. Yang comes in, he destroys it. So our next big event is Reinhardt announces that Erwin Yosef II has been kidnapped by the government in exile, denounces the kidnapping act, and collaboration with the Alliance as cowardly and illegal, effectively declaring war on the Alliance. So even though they've been at war this whole time, this is a huge political move by Reinhardt to get the people firmly behind him. And he basically allows Erwin Yosef II. He's part of the original Golden Bound dynasty. He's essentially the next in charge. He just goes, yeah, you know what? I'm going to let this kidnapping happen to my own political advantage. and he's befriended Mariendorf of sorts. They have a close relationship that ends up happening. King and queen kind of deal that they're hinting at. And she's like, you let that happen. He just kind of has that smile on his face, like, yeah, I did. Because I'm Reinhardt. I'm a sneaky guy. I'm really smart. So, because he knew he couldn't get the people behind him fully because he's not part of, the Golden Baum dynasty. He's just a military leader that's kind of taken power. He needs some way for him to get the people behind its side to declare war on the Alliance and to get all the ships and power he needs to invade Alliance territory. And this was the perfect maneuver to do it, which is very much a heavy parallel to what happened in World War II.
Okay, he's dying. That's it. It's over.
Oh my god. Yeah. I was sick for like 10 days and just getting over it. So, forgive my coughing, Fitz, if you can. So that's not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite like episode chain of the part. But it does have a very important purpose, and it sets up what's to come from there. Who's stealing your car, Hickey?
It's not my car. It's just a random car in the street, because that happens. God damn.
Someone's upset Flamingo lost the big game today, so they're just tipping cars, lighting dumpsters on fire.
Probably, just ignore it. See, it's done.
Okay.
It's been stolen now. It's okay.
Probably.
So I'm curious to what you guys thought over episode 40. It's called. It's titled "Julian's Journey, Mankind's Journey," and it's
the recap episode or the history.
It's not even. It's not truly. This is like the best example.
It becomes a recap episode because of how it kind of we have already been introduced to tidbits of human history, usually through conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like the proper sit down at school, like here's history lesson, lesson type of boring announcer guy talking in a monotone voice about the history of humanity and stuff like that. And it's interesting. As far as recap quote unquote episodes go, it's not the worst. I didn't dislike it, but it is also one of those. It was like it definitely feel like it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for at the time. So I guess timing wise, I wasn't really that interested.
Because it
comes
comes right after the declaration of war on the Alliance through the kidnapping, and right before the Alliance launches their operation to invade. So, just so the audience knows and remembers, it's the historical documentary with the establishment of the Galactic Federation and humanity's continued expansion into space to the eventual formation of the Free Planet Alliance when they break from the dictatorship control, and it continues on to their first conflict with the Empire. So it gives you a historical explanation of why all this is happening, and I think my personal opinion is, I think it gives us a lot of good background on why and how the dictatorship came to be in the first place of the whole Golden Baum dynasty, and why the Free Planet Alliance is as important to the war as it is. Hickey, what did you think of this particular
agree with
episode?
Tori. I think the timing is not the best one.
Well, when should it have occurred? Like at the start of the show?
Honestly, I think probably after the fall of the Free Planet Alliance. I think it will be better than where it was, because it feels a little bit dislocated. You already know what happened. They gave you a lot of things in in the past 40 episodes. You understand.
They gave you the
everything
summary
was the
of it.
Empire. Then something happened. You don't need to know exactly what happened, but then the Free Alliance became, what it is, conquering becoming the last few planets. The Empire conquered became the Free Alliance, and all the things with Iserlon from. They don't explain where the third party comes from, which is good because this one explains why. You have, what is the name of the corridor they use? No,
What,
Fizan.
user loan?
They explain where
Phazon
Fizan comes
corridor,
from. But it's really good. I don't mind. I just think the timing was odd. Also, I think it's very good
Okay,
because it
fair enough.
Yeah.
contributes for the feeling of Legend of Galactic Heroes being actually a documentary of you've seen in the future, right? After everything has after everything has passed, just like we said in the first cast of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. This episode feels like the first volume of the set of the commentaries, right? And we are going through not even the second volume, but the third volume, where a huge chapter in that story ends. I think because we are seeing the end of an era, it would be better if that documentary piece was after the fall of the Free Alliance. Since we won't talk about it, but we also have another party surging, which is the Iserlaw Republic. That's a little bit for later, but
It's a little bit later. Yeah.
it's another chapter of said history. So it will be interesting to see that recap a little bit after, but it's still a very good episode.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So
It's
maybe
a good history lesson.
It doesn't have any preparation for it. It comes out of kind of nowhere, but it's still a very good episode.
So,
yeah.
well, if you're saying it would come after the fall of the Alliance, which is what we're slowly building towards, then that would either end the season or be the start of the next one.
Yeah, and between both of them
would be getting this history lesson. Okay.
Instead of, because I think that's better than like in the middle, because while I understand why they would put it there, since Julian is currently traveling, so there's a bit of dead time there. I can kind of understand why exactly there, but it does become one of those things was like, it seems a little bit like all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm gonna learn some history now. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's the moving pieces here. Why Julian's leaving Yang's side is because we're still getting that stupid democratic de-shaming and the de-power of Yang, which is so stupid, and
trying to get rid of all of his closest key players.
Yeah, and splitting them up. It's like, why? You're so worried about the Empire like coming to wreck your ass, and yet you're still so hung up on Yang being popular.
Because it's democracy, and
Yang. Oh my God.
For democracy, Yang is the biggest threat, not the Empire, because the Empire is still far away. He's keeping them away, right? So, as far as the politicians are concerned, the Empire is not really a threat, which is why one of the reasons why the Alliance falls so fucking easy when it finally gets attacked.
Right?
No, we give up.
Yeah, because their biggest
like,
problem
no.
is
You take
internal
it.
problems, because they were recovering from a fucking civil war, and they're like, look, we might suffer a coup, a righteous coup, because people will say, yes, Yang, our leader, the guy who's been fighting the fucking war for us and winning everything. Yeah, I think he should be our ultimate commander. So that's one of the problems. Of course, you have other problems. You have the terror
the false
cultists.
rumors being spread that Yang has the ambition.
You have the terror cultists behind the prime minister, the Free Alliance planets.
Right.
You have a lot of things. You also have the military. The military saying, "Yeah, we should put Yang in the in the command because guy's good. Then you have a lot of tension. Like I said, the tissue in the Free Alliance, the democratic and social tissue in the alliance, is way too stretched. And when you stretch the tissue of a democracy, it doesn't recover; it just rips. It calls a democratic rupture, and we already past the point of the rupture because you had a civil war. What comes after it? What comes after it is a reorganization and a rebalance of power to establish a new democratic social tissue. That's what they are doing. And the best thing to do is pick on Yang, since he's one of the major players in that reorganization, and blame him the destabilization of the Free Planet Alliance in him, because he weakens them. Rightfully so, because he needed to in order to stop the coup, but he still weakens them. So he's actually in the weaker side of the rebalance of power, and they pick on him.
Yeah, and Yang even has lines because he sees everything that's
happening. Yeah, and he's pissed because of that. Because I don't want to be anything. I just want to retire.
And he says a lot of lines regarding that situation that's unfolding, and he constantly just says, "I would rather see the democracy completely fall and the nation fall rather than try to rebuild itself rebuild its former self, because it'll never reach that." Right? He would rather see the dictatorship.
That's what I'm talking
over.
about. Right? He sees it. It's like there's no rebalance of power. It already happened. It won't come back. The laws and the constitutions, they are very important things. They're not just piece of papers, because they hold that tissue. If you stretch that enough, it won't come back. If you rupture that, it will never come back. And that's what he says. He says, look,
you can't just glue the tissue back together.
You can beat the shit out of me. I don't care. Because I don't want anything to do with that. I just want to retire. So he's like, he's seeing the bad move. He's like, unwilling. We need to reorganize. He understands that they need to reorganize. And his way of thinking is, anything is better than what they are doing right now, which is beating me up. Because that won't lead anywhere. Because even if there's a coup, even if I become the leader, I won't do shit because I don't want to. It will be way too much of a hassle, and it will be a few set of problems. New problems I'll have to deal with, and the population will have to deal with, and new politicians will arise out of it, and everything will repeat, and chaos, and the empire will just come in and sweep us all. Which eventually happens.
Right. So that's a good segue into the basically final operation of Part 2. It's called Operation Ragnarok. Something you're very familiar. Something you're familiar with, Tori, in your line of origin.
Yeah,
Yeah, back on planet Odin and Ragnarok. Yeah, we all see that.
Planet Odin. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Or is it the city of Odin? Whatever. So Ragnarok entails the Empire striking a deal with the neutral Phazon planet so they can go through the Phazon corridor, thus invading the incredibly weakened Alliance. And it also makes the Iserlohn, it makes it worthless, since it'll no longer be that choke point in space. So the Empire has a 3-1 advantage in numbers for the invasion, and Yang, basically, because Operation Ragnarok involves a kind of distraction point at Iserlohn, and Yang recognizes this, and he recognizes how worthless Iserlohn is. He just goes, blow it up, whatever. And this now leads to Yang temporarily saving the Alliance fleet from the battle. Whoops, earphones came out. From the battle and the battle at the Phazon corridor, or at least near it, right after it, And shortly after this time period, Reinhardt goes down with a fever. Very important, as we'll find out later, why Reinhardt's health becomes a major issue. Yang goes full guerrilla warfare due to this, because they're in their space, and he's just using old guerrilla tactics, trying to taunt Reinhardt into battle to kill him. Because his frame of mind is, Reinhardt is the leader, he does go into battle, if we kill the leader, essentially killing the head off the snake, everyone else will go into disarray, and it'll be kind of faction warfare, just trying to, a new guy trying to take charge. So, trying to create that civil war within the Empire yet again. And that goes into the Battle of Vermilion from there. So, I really like the guerrilla warfare tactics. It's one of the more exciting parts of the show in general. You don't know when or how Yang is going to save the Alliance next kind of situation with so many, at so much of a disadvantage now, along with the political discourse within the Alliance and the supply lines being low, the morale being super low, but here's Yang to the rescue as usual. Just seeing Reinhardt slowly like getting pissed off and losing his mind, so the taunting's working. This is where the Empire is kind of at a disadvantage with, they're so well organized and so by the book that they can't really think for themselves a lot. You get that with Royenthal, you get that with Mittermeier, a couple other their leaders, which they end up dying because they just don't have that thinking outside the box motion.
Yeah, they can't predict what's happening because it's not how it would conventionally be done. Which I do find it kind of funny. It's like literally they have lines like that as well, where it's like one of the guys getting really annoyed because he was outplayed by something like that. It's not, you can't even really call it strategy, but it's just because he wasn't prepared. And he knows that it's like, this isn't good. This is gonna look really bad. It's like,
So we get the Battle of Vermilion, which is a huge moment in the entire show. This is through the Fezan corridor. Now Iserlohn is done and gone. The taunting to bring Reinhardt out into battle has worked. However, this has led to the Royenthal fleet taking over Heinessen. I believe Mittermeier is right there with him. But Royenthal is the main chess piece in motion here. The bishop, if you will, that has gone across the board despite the king's orders, if you will. You have Mariendorf, who notices that, yes, Reinhardt could die. How could I save him? And with Royenthal's ambition, this is important because we got that backstory at the beginning of the part with the two longtime friends and top generals of Reinhardt. Royenthal's noticed to have ambition. And how do you quench the thirst of ambition? Well, you get him a huge victory by taking over the Alliance's home planet of Heinessen behind Reinhardt's back, and the Alliance's does an unconditional surrender. And this is when we get another important decision by Yang. And Yang is so he believes in democracy so much, and kind of the honor behind war in a way where he could just continue the battle and kill Reinhardt. He could. His soldiers want him to do it. His generals want him to do it. And he just goes, no, there's no honor in that. That's not how we function. Where would we be if we just start disobeying orders now? We are going to agree to the surrender and go on our merry way. However, he does have a plan, and that's instead of having Merkatz kill himself, as you said so earlier, he convinces Merkatz to leave and form a secret resistance force. And that's where part 3 will go into, is Merkatz's, continuing the Alliance way, right? The Free Planet Alliance. So you have Royenthal's quest for power being his thirst has been quenched. You have Mariendorf going behind Reinhardt's back, and they have their couple issues, you might say. Reinhardt's sick, or at least he's getting more and more sick as time has gone by. Yang has agreed to the surrender. The alliance is no more, technically. And now it leads to the final episode of the arc, and Yang meeting Reinhardt face to face. Something we have been dying to see. This meeting between the two. We got a hint of it with Yang meeting Kirchheis in part 1, and now we have part 2 ending with the two big galactic leaders finally meeting each other, and they have this incredible amount of respect for each other. And my favorite line from the two conversing is, this is from Yang, "I despise those who hide in safety while they glorify war and patriotism and send other people to the battlefield while they relax behind the lines," something he was very adamant about during his inquiry. "It is difficult to live with those people under the same flag. You are different from them." He's talking to Reinhardt. "You are on the front lines, and please pardon my words, it is admirable." And Reinhardt simply goes, "I understand. It is the only thing you approve of in me after all. I am honored." So he knows Yang hates him, hates dictatorship, hates everything he stands for, and how he's been going about it. However, he has the balls to actually go out and do it himself on the front lines, and Yang's just like, "That's good enough for me, bro."
Yeah. Now, I mean, like, there are a lot of interesting tidbits between them when they first meet. Like, for example, because Reinhardt, he wants Yang to join him.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because he respects him a lot. But obviously, Yang does not want to work for a dictatorship because he doesn't believe in that. But I did find it very interesting because what he said was like, "I fight for democracy." Like, obviously, even a broken democracy is better because it can be fixed. Yada yada.
Yada yada. Yeah.
All that spiel. But what I really liked was like when he said that if he was born in the Empire, he would have been fighting tooth and nail for the Empire and for the dictatorship rather than the democracy. But since he was not, he fights for what he knows and what he believes in. And that's honestly a very interesting way, because he does realize that a lot of it just come up to being more comfortable with what he knows, and obviously knowing history, how dictatorships go usually. It's so I think there's a lot of interesting just nuggets of wisdom that comes from that meeting with them, that conversation. So
there's references to the past, how they came to be. I believe they bring up Kirchheis and how much both of how Yang respected him, and
if Kirchheis was still alive, Yang would not have been alive.
He mentions that even when Kirchheis dies, Yang goes, "I feel like I lost a close friend," even though they weren't especially close or close at all, but he recognized how important Kirchheis was to Reinhardt and how much a dictatorship relies. They reference Alexander the Great in that regard, where once Alexander the Great lost his right-hand man, that's when he himself went into mental disarray, and Reinhardt did that exact same thing. So there's a lot of Alexander the Great in Reinhardt and how they're referencing that past and the conquering of Reinhardt, how he's going about all this. This how the part ends with the two just having a conversation is just incredible. It's everything you wanted. It lives up to all that hype, all that tension, going through a 50+ episodes just to get to a conversation of all things. It's not a grand battle. It's not an assassination. It's nothing like that. It's just, hey, bro, let's sip some tea and talk about our ideals. Corrupt democracy,
rightful empire,
a functioning dictatorship.
It's dude,
just all of this. It's
50
great.
episodes for a dialogue. That's when you know a show is doing really wonders with politics. because it's so interesting. Oh.
And how well it's written.
Every single one of the 54 episodes so far. It's... Man, every single thing. They are all well thought. All well produced. And yeah.
The music always matches. It sticks with that high classical music. It never stops. It's always... It's high octane classical, if you can put it that way, I guess, for battles, and then just go with it.
I was about to say it's classical.
It is classical music, but
the quality
it does match.
Doesn't drop. Like it's a really good series. God damn. There's little to no drop in quality in animation in the.
I'm not entirely on board
just
with
a
you
little
that
bit.
there
It
have
happens.
been
It happens,
a lot
but like
of
not enough to be, relevant. At least in my opinion, of what I remember.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not entirely. I'm not
it's
entirely
not
on board
battle
with
focused like part 1.
It is not. Well, no, but not even that. Like the battles itself aren't great pieces of animation either. They're very simple. So that's fine. It doesn't require like splendid like animation. Like it's not like you're looking at like fucking like well animated like fist fights or anything like that. It's general, just large ship shoots lasers, other large ship gets hit, explosion, burning, people dying. That said, the one time we finally do properly get to see people die and they're literally cut in half and shit like that, my god. That's...
Well, it doesn't beat around the bush there, no.
Yeah, no, that was just one of those. It's like we haven't really seen people die all that often, like particularly in like great ways. And then all of a sudden, just like fucking guy laying on the ground, like his gut spilling out, and he's just like help, and I'm like, oh wow.
Well, I mean, shit, we see the suicide of the dude that couldn't protect the the little prince dude from Erwin from being kidnapped. He just goes, I failed my duties, and he just blows his own brains out. You're like, oh!
I love how everyone is just like, yeah, he's gonna kill himself. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not put him under suicide watch. No, he's gotta do it for honor.
He's of the old school. He's definitely gonna kill himself at first convenient opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we don't see the rape and pillage of towns, but we do see the ordering of execution because of what they did. We do see all that, like people getting hung, firing squads. They're like, yeah, you don't rape and pillage the village, buddies. We may be the empire,
cool.
but we have rules.
Yeah. I mean, like that's obviously right.
It's interesting.
That's one of the things, right? When they come and take over, because the problem is like they're there to take over, but you don't want to be seen like entirely as the bad guy.
Yes, well, I mean, they use.
I mean, you're obviously going to be seen as the bad guy, right?
Aliens, like with the scourge
right, but
kind of thing, just burn everything. Let's go inside of territory. The aliens will come, conquer. We'll see as the good guys, but then resources will end, and people will start getting angry at them, and then you have tension. They don't want that. Yeah, it's very interesting how they put the Empire as the good guys at the end of this part. It's really, really nice. There's a lot of narrative war as well behind. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now Reinhardt has officially ended the Goldenbaum dynasty. It's totally overthrown now. He is the full dictator. He isn't just the general in power. He is now also officially the dictator. So that's where it ends. The alliance has fallen.
And what did it cost?
At what cost? Well, Yang is no longer going to be in general. He's not going to be in military power.
Yang won't retire for a long time.
It costed him everything. I like that part 12 for Reinhardt when he gets the crown. I like that part because, it's like the whole thing with like, oh, everyone's there, and fucking celebrations are running. But the only two people he really wanted to be there more than anything else, they are not there. they are not
his
present.
sister's in isolation at a cottage, and Kierkeis is dead. So
Yep. So what did it cost? Everything.
Everything. That's that isolation that he's going to, and so he overworks himself. He got that fever, So I think there's a lot of foreshadowing there of what's going to happen with Reinhardt, and we don't have a whole lot of foreshadowing with what Yang Wen Li's his role is gonna be in part 3, but we do know of
historian.
Well, yeah, historian. but we do know like what his possible path could be because of Merkat's being sent off for a secret resistance force. So Yang does believe in democracy so much that he wants at least, Viva la Resistance gonna start going on over here. But what his role is in particular remains a mystery. So yeah, part 2, very, very dialogue heavy. Not a lot of battles, only a couple of them. It's the rise of Reinhardt, finally accepting the crown. Yang had just incredible dialogue and lines of his frustration with democracy, his part in it. I loved it all. Maybe I would have wished a little bit more with Faison, but that's clearly going to be a bigger role in part 3.
They already tipped the scale of war. Like they concluded that the war will keep going and the Empire will eventually win. Like, that's clear. And they're like, all right, the Empire will win. We better just help them. It's better to do that. Well, of course, there's some stuff behind that on part 3 we get to surface, but at that point, Faison, as someone who is deeming more into the merchants, it's kind of the merchant place. They will do what is best for business, and the war is not good for business, not at all. When they
anymore.
When they decide that, all right, the Empire will win, Faison then decides to help them because they can influence the Empire then. Right? Now we are allies. I helped you. Hey, put those guys inside of your place. And then they start spreading ideologies and other ideals. They're not the Empire. Then try to, take the Empire from inside. Kind of take the culture, take the minds. You don't need power. You don't need the government. You just need the hearts and minds of people. That's kind of Faison way in this war. And it's very interesting to see. But that's part 3.
Yes, it is. No, I mean, like, when it comes to part 2, the only thing I can really say about part 2 is that at the end of the day, I am looking to be entertained. And as far as part 2 goes, there were times, rather lengthy portions, where I wasn't particularly enjoying myself. It wasn't bad.
The middle, for me, it was the middle with the whole Erwin thing.
Yeah, like, it wasn't bad, but it's one of those things where I'm sitting there, and there were times where I'm just checking the time, and I'm like, okay, can we move on to, like, the next episode? Like, when is something exciting gonna happen? When is something gonna happen out of this? Like, the bubble is about to burst, and I can feel it, but when will it fucking burst?
I keep blowing into this balloon, and it won't pop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't bored at all. I'll disagree. Yeah, bro, dude, my life is loss, politics, and conflicts of interest. So for me, that is way too good of a show. If there's no battles at all, it's only politics or talking, I'll be happy as well, because that's my jam, and it's really, really hard to see something so deep thought like that. So even when it's just dialogue, I'm just sitting there like, yes, the social tissue, it is happening, the democratic rupture. I'm like, yes, the Empire and
the world is burning. Yes.
That is everyone who studies constitutional laws things like the world is burning. That is good, because The Constitution, and every constitution, doesn't matter if it's an empire, a monarchy, a dictatorship, a democracy, it's not done for peace times. The Constitution is made for war times, for conflict times. And so we see all those very well thought and very solid based societies colliding in cultures, social structure, social rules, and what comes out of it. In space, of course. That space makes everything better. So yeah, I wasn't bored at all.
Yes.
I enjoyed every single episode.
So what score do you give it? Since we're
I think the same I gave the first one. I honestly don't have any reason to change. I think I gave it an 8 or a 9 in the first one, and I think I'll keep with that because honestly, there's really not many things to that the credits this show. Probably a little bit of some animation parts, but I'll aside that, no.
Yeah, I gave part 1 a 10. I'll just because the middle kind of dragged a bit for me. I'll give this one a 9. Just for part 2, it was very dialogue heavy, and I could totally see people getting bored if they really liked the action of part 1 more than the dialogue of part 2. So I'll stick with a 9. So we're at a 9.5 for me right now for the series as a whole. How about yourself, Tori?
Yes, how about me? Now, obviously, I'm still the guy who's not the biggest on this show. I think it's a good show, but I'm not loving it. It has good moments, but it lacks room to breathe for me a lot of times. Like, I appreciate that the story is really well written and really tightly written, but there are moments where I feel like the kind of grip around the story is too tight for my liking. Like, it's too...
Not enough mystery to...
Yeah. And that kind of takes me out a little bit of certain parts. Not all of it, but certain parts. So because of that, I ended up giving part 1 a 7. Because it still did a lot that I appreciate. But because I gave that a 7...
Okay, okay.
Part 1 a 7. So because of that, because I kind of dislike part 2, not dislike part 2, but like part 2 a little bit less than I like part 1, I kind of forced myself to give that one a 6. It's not... I would give it a high 6, but it's not my cup of tea. It's not what I'm all that into. It's good, but because of that, like, little middle part there where I was kind of bored, I have to dock it a little bit of points, and yeah, so it ends up at a 6.
I mean, I guess they don't... they show everything. Yes, it comes to that mentality of that being a documentary we're seeing in the future. So they just show everything to you. There's no mystery at all because it is a documentary.
Yeah, but that's the sort of stories I like. Right? I prefer my stories to have a little bit of breathing room, like a little bit of, not even necessarily like mystery, but like stuff that kind of becomes more clear. And there are parts where they do that, but there are still, for me, for my liking, for my taste, there are parts where I feel like the story is trying to be too tightly written, trying to keep you too on top of everything that's going on, and at that point I'm like, I say kind of like what I said about the whole history recap, it starts feeling a little bit like I'm back in history class, and when I feel like I'm back in history class, even though history can be interesting, I do still end up in that little bit like, yep, you're telling me all of this stuff, and it's very interesting, but also, I have other things I want to do.
I know exactly how you feel, Tori. Yeah, I wish there was a little bit more mystery in this as well. Like, maybe don't tell... Like, we don't know who the leader of the terrorist church is, technically. You know, maybe Faison's third-party movement could have been hidden a little bit better. Yeah, I totally feel you. History was my least favorite class in school.
Wow.
Next to college chemistry.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I
I'm a
hated
history nerd.
I hated
There's
it. There's only
probably
so many times I can learn about the American government in World War II.
That's probably
Okay.
why I like
I don't...
a lot. I'm just a history. Yeah, I mean, I explained. I just love history and politics and law, so that show is for me.
I mean, yeah. No, but I don't hate history. My big thing is like my history. We cut out history at school very early, so we haven't had history forever. I only recently started picking up history again.
Wait, you didn't learn about Texas history in 7th grade like I did?
Nope.
Whole year I
No.
learned about Texas history, but we're getting off
And
topic.
it's the same, like JD said. It's always just World War II, World War II, World War II. It's like I know this now. We don't need to go through it again, do we? And then couple that with usually always having teachers who are like the sort of guys who just history class, open textbook, and now I'm gonna read this to you in like the most monotone, I want to kill myself voice.
You're preaching to the choir, buddy.
So yeah,
right.
but like again, it's a good show. It's just there are parts of it that aren't quite for me.
So that makes us give it a congruent score of an 8 for part 2. Not bad. For our next episode, we have Gun Frontier. Written down on the
Leiji
agenda.
Matsumoto.
It is.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh shit. Well, I'm looking forward to it even more now. Hooray.
With the little midget
love me some
Leiji
Leiji Matsumoto.
Matsumoto
I
likes
have
to
not
make
seen
his
it.
main characters as well.
Well, that's very true.
And the same women.
And Captain
all the time.
Hadlock, but in another costume.
Well, this was Red Leaf Retrocast Anime Episode 61. Tori, Hickey, it's been a pleasure. And audience, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Peace.
君を語ってみないか生まれたばかりの星たちとおずおずとしたひらめきの中に君は熱い想いを感じるはずだ君を渡ってみないか惜しく流れる星雲をその懐に抱かれた時に君は深い命を感じるはずだ心を澄ませ耳澄ませ君の旅立ちの